Hi, welcome to Mainland Cycle Center's new vehicle department. Today I want to show you a 2013 KX450F, and we're going to talk about some of the things that are new on the KX450F for 2013. One of the new things is with the front fork. It now is a air spring or pneumatic spring front fork, meaning there's no traditional springs in the front forks. We simply put air in those front forks, and that air acts as the spring. And I'm going to show you how you do that here in just a moment. Do a little walk around on it. Great looking bike. The biggest thing you'll notice cosmetically, the rear fender is white with a little bit of green graphics on it. So white rear fender. I think it looks cool. They've got some of this blue tied into it. They've been doing that for a few years now. The black rims still, which look good, comes standard with the Renthal bars. Still are standard, which is nice. You don't have to immediately go and upgrade the bars. The blue anodized caps there on the motor give it a little more of a factory team race team look. The rear brake rotor is a new style wavy rotor, matches the front rotor. Kawasaki made several changes for 2013. They did some changes to the piston and so forth on it. They also, let's see what else. The piston, the rear brake rotor. The big thing, of course, is the front suspension. You still have the launch control on here, so the launch control lets you get a better start on your races, because it takes a lot of finesse to modulate the clutch with this much power. And the way that launch control works is you in first gear, neutral, or second gear, you push and hold this button for more than 2 seconds, the light will start to flash, and then once you shift into third gear, it'll turn that off. Basically what it does probably is recharge the ignition to just make the power a little smoother, is probably part of what it does. But the launch control, a lot of guys have been liking that. Of course, you have your engine kill button. Of course, this is your clutch, front handbrake, and then of course your twist throttle, like we always have. But let's get a look at the top of these forks, if we can. So you can see you can adjust your compression there. Now they increased the size of the dampening cartridge in here. I think it was 24 millimeters standard is what it was, and now it's up to a 32 millimeter diameter dampening cartridge. And I may be wrong exactly on those numbers, but that's close. And so basically what you've got is this little gold plug right here. And if you take this little gold plug out, hopefully I won't drop it. I'm doing all this kind of one-handed. Then there's a Schrader valve in there. I don't know if we can see that. Basically an air valve. Let's set this down. And then you're going to use a pump similar to this to pump up the suspension. But what you've got is you've got this little piece right here, and this little piece pulls off the end, and this is going to screw into the top of the fork. This little cap comes off there, so we're going to screw this piece into the top of the fork. Switch aids. Okay, so once that's screwed in, then we have this little air pump right here. Take this little, then that's going to screw on. Now the standard setting for these is 35 psi with the, and I don't know if you saw that needle popped up when I got this screwed on there, but the standard setting is 35 psi with the front wheel off the ground. And so we've got the front wheel off the ground, we're sitting on our stand. And then this handle pulls out and you just pump it up, okay, like that. But you can see here we're at a little over 35 psi, about 36 psi, and this has a little button on it right here, and so we can let a little bit of air out. But that's how you're going to air up your shocks. And of course you can set different amounts of air in there depending on what you need. But so that's what's new on those. So probably if you buy one of these bikes, you're going to want to invest in one of these hand pumps. You don't want to fill this with your air compressor because of the volume. The volume's just not very big. And so you'll want to have one of those little hand pumps to do that. And you just repeat that process for the other fork, of course. Try not to lose all these parts. Whoop, I dropped it. It's alright, we'll get it in a minute. But this go right back into the fork, and I'll do that off video. Alright, so that's how your air suspension, the air spring works. Put that air in there. Of course, these are fuel injected bikes, and one of the things that we started is that comes with some different connectors for the different mapping on it. So if you see this green connector right here, what you've got is two more. There's a black one and a white one, and I don't remember which one's which, but it tells us in the owner's manual. But I'm pretty sure this one's going to be standard, and then you have one for soft terrain and one for hard terrain, and I'm not sure which one's which, but the owner's manual will tell you. But you simply just plug this in there to change that fuel map. Now you can also buy the software from Kawasaki to remap these even further. So if you're pretty good with that kind of thing, you can purchase that software that you can use on your laptop to tune it. Okay. Of course, these are an aluminum chassis, perimeter style frame, which means that you've got your frame coming around each side there, which forms a perimeter. Gives a lot of strength with less weight. Keeps the frame rigid. And you know, they're always playing with frame rigidity. They want to have a frame that's rigid, but then they want a bike that handles good, so they build a certain amount of flex into them too. Aluminum swing arm. Of course, you've got disc brakes front and rear. That's pretty standard nowadays. Your inverted front forks. The inverted front fork basically means that this big heavy part of the fork is up top, and then the fork tube, the slider part, is on the bottom, as opposed to this piece being fixed and this piece sliding. By doing that, it makes the forks more rigid. Okay, and of course they're big in diameter, which lets them put those big dampening valves in there for better suspension, of course. But, of course, these are 4-stroke. We talked about them being fuel injected. They're liquid cooled. You've got radiators right in here and here. Liquid cooled. These are a high performance motor, so as a matter of maintenance with these, you're going to put a new piston and ring in it occasionally, revalve it, put some new valves in it, and that kind of thing. You'll do that as a matter of maintenance. But these are really proving to be really good. With the fuel injection, they definitely start way better than they did with the carbureted bikes. Plus, you have that so easy to tune them with that fuel injection. A couple other things that you can do with the 450Fs is you have 4 different handlebar adjustments. Depending on how you mount these mounts here, if you flip these around, and then you have 2 different holes up here you can mount them in, that gives you 4 different options for where you can put the handlebars across here. So 4 different options there. Then you also have an option of being able to raise and lower the foot pegs. So you've got a couple different bolts here that you can raise and lower those foot pegs. For a taller rider who can raise those pegs. Okay. Unitrack rear suspension. Of course, it's a linkage type rear suspension, which just makes the shock more progressive, softer in the beginning and then firmer as you need it. Of course, pretty standard on dirt bikes. You have a folding shift lever, so if you fall over, it doesn't break the shift lever, hopefully. Of course, the foot pegs fold up too. You don't want to catch those on anything. A harder chain guide, I believe they were saying, has a harder chain guide to give you a little more wear and tear on that chain guide. But I think that's a pretty quick rundown. Not really quick, I guess. 9 minutes so far on the 2013 KX450. But I really wanted to show you all that new front fork, because that's the big news with this 2013 KX450 is that air spring front fork. Alright. Well, there's a quick rundown on the 2013 KX450F. We are Mainland Cycle Center. We're located about 30 minutes south of downtown Houston, just off of I-45 in LaMarque, Texas. Our website is mainlandcyclecenter.com. Our phone number is 409-948-4969. Give us a call, shoot us an email, come by and see us. We'd love to help any way we can. Thanks for watching.